Good morning. My name is John Loghry, and I would like to tell you a story of determination against overwhelming odds for something that only meant something to me. This story is a story of how I became Guinness World Record holder for the fastest motorized wheelbarrow in the world. I have always been a curious person, an inventor, like Wayne Selinsky on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Yes, I've blown up a few things, drove my remote control lawnmower right up the street sign, watched transformers explode. Fun stuff. But the funniest thing that I've ever gone through was to build my ride-on wheelbarrow. It started shortly after I retired at the ripe old age of 67. After I retired, I immediately found out that I hated the boredom. I have a really nice shop out in the backyard, so I began spending a lot of time out there. Now, before you knew it, I had invented a wheelbarrow that you could ride and guide it around town. Actually, just around my neighborhood, where the neighbors all thought I was nuts. I began wondering if there was a Guinness record for how fast this thing could go. I found out that time that there was a record of about 47 miles per hour. I knew I could easily beat that record, so I entered me and my wheelbarrow at Guinness World Record's website. Next, I needed a way to see how fast it really would go. Where do you do that? Where do you take your wheelbarrow for a test run to see how fast it'll go? On the streets? I thought about that, but I figured the cops would give me a ticket and probably impound the vehicle. So I called around to Newton Speedway out in Newton, Iowa. I went out there twice to speak to the manager out there, and he ignored me. He ignored all my emails. I wasn't there when I stopped in. I looked into Eddyville Drag Strip in Eddyville, Iowa. I called down there and I spoke to Gerald. Gerald, I guess, was the owner, and just like the other people, was kind of baffled by exactly what I was asking him. What do you mean, run your wheelbarrow out here? He told me to call his tech, Randy, to see what he says. So I called Randy. I'm sorry, not Randy, Rand. So I called Rand, and after he stopped laughing, he asked me to send him some pictures of my wheelbarrow, which I did. And after he got that, he said, "That's the strangest thing I've ever seen, but I really need to see it in person." So he said, "We have open time trials this coming Friday. If you want to bring it, as long as it's safe and passes, I'll let you run it." So I was ecstatic. Yeah, sure. So I went down there and found Rand and asked him to come over and take a look at it. And he would shake his head, not knowing what to think. When he saw it, he looked over to my wife and said, "And you're okay with this?" And she just kind of shook her head nervously. Yeah. So picture this. So after he told me that it would pass, that I could make a run. So he told me to go ahead and get in line with the other cars. Now I want you to picture this. A little wheelbarrow that I'm riding on, sitting right next to like Mustangs and cars with Hemi engines, and even there was even a dragster out there, I think. So when I pulled up to the Christmas lights, you could see the crowd out there was, besides laughing and cheering and really not knowing what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect either, so I was right there with them. I was real nervous, and I'm here with my right, sitting on it, ready to go, and revving it up a little bit, waiting for the light to change, and from red to green, and then take off. Trust me, I was so nervous, in front of a whole bunch of people, including my family. The light changed green, so I opened it up just as far as it would go, and off I went. I got to the other end of the track and went to the time shack and picked up my time card. "47 miles an hour." I was ecstatic. I was beyond ecstatic. That, I know that was a tie to the original one, to the top, but I knew that was my first run. That was my first time having it above, I don't know, 5, 10 miles an hour out here on the street. I knew then, with a little tweaking, a few things here and there, I knew I could beat that. Over the next few weeks, I found a different sprocket that I put on to change the gearing ratio to make it go even faster. I started using premium gas, and I went back to the drag strip the next week. So this time, and of course the same thing. So I got up there in front of the Christmas tree, the red lights on, and again people kind of laughing and cheering, not knowing what they're cheering for really, and the light changed green. I was off. Bam, right down. It was so nice. The wheelbarrow drove so straight and actually very smooth for what it is, and down to the end of the track. I showed up to get my time card, and there it was, 52.7 miles an hour. I was laughing and joking and having a good old time. I was so happy because I knew that beat it. That beat the current record. Of course, I didn't have anything on Guinness yet. This wasn't a Guinness approved event, but what that meant was that I could do it. Shortly after that, I found out that another gentleman in Wales, UK, had broke that 47 mile an hour record. He actually went 52.8 miles an hour, I believe it was, 52 something. And so he broke the 47 that I knew. But again, I was confident. Even at 52, I was tied the new record, but I knew I could do even more. So I was really ready to step up my game now. I was definitely ready to step up. What I did next was I went ahead and found a guy out in Marion, Iowa. It's Rykins Racing. They work on go-karts and stuff like that. And I spoke with the owner out there. His name was, Bill. His name was, I spoke with Bill at Rykins Racing in Marion, Iowa. Asked him if he could help me. Told him what I was up against, and I had the wheelbarrow with me, and I got the strangest look from him, and he's like, "And you're racing this?" I said, "Yeah," and I told him what I've done so far, but I need it to go faster. He says, "Well, I can remove the governor from the engine. I can probably put a different cam in, a little bit racing cam in there, and do a carburetor and some other work on it." And I asked him, "Okay, well, go ahead. Let's do it." So he went ahead and did some work on the engine, and like I said, I did change the sprockets out. I did get a bully clutch for it, which is about the best clutch you can get on one of those. So now the next thing I had to come across was actually where I could race it, because the other problem with racing it at Eddyville was Eddyville's drag strip was an 8th mile was an 8th mile track. Now Guinness, they don't care how far you go. That the world record for the fastest wheelbarrow does not state how far you can go. It states a minimum but it does not state a maximum. It just says, how fast can you go? So I knew I needed to go somewhere else besides that. So I started calling around to some airports. And actually I got that idea from the gentleman in Wales who beat that record. He actually did his out on an airstrip. And so I started asking around some of the airports around town, and they all said the FFA wouldn't allow them to do that. So where am I going to be able to do this? I have to figure out a way. The next problem I also had was that with Guinness, they said that this has to be done in kilometers per hour, not miles per hour. And everything I've done so far was in miles per hour. So I had to find out if anybody had a radar or LiDAR gun that would do kilometers per hour. So I started looking around to, I went down to the local police department. They never did get back to me, and I went down there several times and left messages. I went to the county sheriff's department. They said they don't have anything that does kilometers per hour. I went to the state patrol. They said they didn't have anything. I even got with a couple of the car clubs around town. They didn't have any. I emailed two of the major baseball clubs around the area and never heard back from them. But I thought, well, you know, baseball, they time the ball, so maybe they would have something, but I never did hear back from them. So I'm really at a loss now. One, I don't know where I'm going to be able to do this because I really want at least more than 1/8 of a mile to do it. Two, I need to have something that will clock in kilometers per hour. So now I'm really like, you know what, I might not even be able to do this. I was really getting kind of depressed about the whole thing after all I put into it. So I got an idea when I seen a road blocked off for a street party. I thought, well, they can do that. Why can't I block off a road to do this? And, you know, I would just make sure it's like a mile-long stretch and block it off to do it. So I put an application in to block off the road not too far from me because it looked like it would be a great little area to do. When I put in the application, of course, the people down at the county, just like everybody else, laughed and joked about it. And, you know, are you serious? Well, but they all loved the idea that I was trying to break a record. So they said they would see what they could do. I got a call back from the lady. She says, well, I found actually a better place for you, and we can get the permit going for it. She gave me the location. The location was, you know, a couple miles north of Mitchellville, Iowa, which is, I don't know, 20-30 minutes away. So I went out there and I took a look at the road. I drove down the road. It was nice, smooth, straight. I mean, it was perfect. So I went back to her and I told her, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's put that down. But I said, I don't have a date yet. So let's go ahead and just put it down for tentative, let's make sure we can get it. And I'll give you a date as soon as I can get all this other stuff worked out. So back to the radar gun. All right, so I have no way of testing. You know, nobody seems to have a LiDAR gun. You know, this is America. We don't do kilometers per hour out here. So, yeah, everybody's like, good luck with that, buddy, because you're not going to get one. I got an idea from somebody to look at eBay. And eBay had some LiDAR guns. I emailed the owner of one of them and asked him if it would do kilometers. And he says, not as it sits, but I can do a firmware update for an extra $100. And I said, so it would do kilometers per hour if you did that? He said, yes. So I bought it. Yes, I paid a lot of money for it, a lot. But at least I got that covered. What I did after that was I went back to our local county sheriff's department and spoke with a gentleman down there who had kind of been helping me along with this. His name was Sergeant Martin, Sergeant Trevor Martin. He told me that he could do it for me with that gun, but it would have to be the following Saturday is the only time he has off. And I said, well, I should be able to do that. I mean, all I got to do now is find a permit and then let people know. I gave him the LiDAR gun because the only thing I know about those radar guns, I'm always on the other end of it getting the ticket. So he looked it over and told me, yes, everything works great on it. So I decided at that point to that I knew when I was going to do it. It was going to be that next Saturday, the 21st of September. So I made a little flyer for it. To let people know when and where it was going to be. I put that in for the county for the approval for the road closure. I had to go rent some barricades to close off that road. And the other thing I had to do was to the county, they said before I could race on any street like that, I had to also have insurance. Well, I hadn't thought about that, but I mean, how do you insure a wheelbarrow? I mean, that, you know, who knows how fast it's going to go on that road, but at least 52 miles an hour, and hopefully a lot faster. So I finally found, I talked with my insurance agent that covers the, or home and auto, asked him to do home, auto, and wheelbarrow. He laughed, but he said, well, let me look into it. Finally, he agreed to insure it for that 1 hour that it was going to be running. And that was expensive too. Only because nobody had ever done it before. He didn't know, I don't know, but it was a lot for that 1 hour. Okay, so now I'm really covered here. I got the spot covered. I got the permit. I've got the barricades ready to go. I have the LiDAR gun, and I have an officer of the Sheriff's Department ready to do it. I've told Guinness when I was going to do it, and they've agreed to that. So everything was all going along pretty good, but I thought, well, I wanted to keep people there. I didn't really want everybody to come out just for, a couple of runs up and down the track. So I also got a hold of a local band in our area who's very good and asked them to come out and play, before and after the race. And they said they would be honored. They had no problem at all. The last thing I wanted to do was to make this a charity event. One of my most favorite charities is Wounded Warriors. Our veterans who get injured doing the things that our country needs them to do, they deserve all of our respect. I can't say enough about these men and women. Wounded Warrior helps them out, and not only them, but the families. Because you know what? It's not just the soldier when they get injured. It's also the family that pays that price. So again, Wounded Warriors was not even didn't even have a second thought on it. So I also put up a jar and said, if you donate to Wounded Warriors, you can get a poker chip, a memorial poker chip for this event. I made up some poker chips for the Guinness World event that I was hosting. And so all you had to do is donate. Didn't matter how much, donate, and you could get a poker chip of the event. So I've got everything all ready to go now. So the date was confirmed. I made the permit, everything was all done, ready to go. The day of the event, I loaded up the barricades, my wheelbarrow, and the family, then headed out to the location. The first thing we did was, of course, to put up the barricades to block off this 1 mile path so that nobody would come down the road and get my way. So, and lots of people showed up for the event. We had quite a good turnout, and even 3 major news organizations showed up, and also a well-known YouTuber. So we had lots of people, and of course family and friends, and it was a very good turnout. But now this was all on me. Okay, the sheriff was down the other end of the track, and I'm in my wheelbarrow, and I started it up, and it was sitting there. And I mean, I have to tell you, it just sounded badass. Sorry about the language, but for a little bitty lawnmower engine, well, the engine's a Predator 212 with the Hemi engine, and it just runs so smooth, it just perfect. So, okay, so now it's time to do it. I'm sitting there, you know, and the cop waved me, said that he's ready, I'm ready, and so I'm sitting here just ready to go, thinking real hard here, this is it. I have to do this now. And then all of a sudden it was like, I thought, okay, let's get this. So again, I opened it up fast as I could go and ran, and I mean, it was just running so smooth. Again, I mean, the wheelbarrow, it doesn't shake, rattle, or road going down the road. I mean, it didn't vibrate all over the place. It was almost like riding on air. So I got down to the end, and I went by them so fast. I mean, I don't know, I could tell that I'd done a pretty good job. And I turned around, and one of the people on the other end said that I beat it. I went 56 miles an hour, 90 kilometers per hour. So that was my first run. So I turned around, and I'm waiting for the sheriff to get to the other end of the track. And he waves me, said he's ready. I'm ready. Okay, away I go, just as fast as I can go. And I could tell again that I was doing pretty good there. I was doing pretty good. And again, got to the other end, and it was 56.9 miles an hour, 91.66 kilometers. And the third time I ran, I went 92 kilometers, 57 miles an hour, which comes out to an average of 91.667 kilometers, 56.959 miles per hour, which was definitely enough to break the world record of the guy from Wales. So I was so happy. I was ecstatic. Again, the local news agencies all made a report on it and talked to me, interviewed me on site. I couldn't have been any happier. Now it was time to get the proof that I had all submitted to Guinness. There was a lot of information they needed. If I would have hired a Guinness judge to come, you know, I wouldn't have to have done half the work, but they wanted $12,000 American money to come out here to the United States to do that. And I don't have that money. So I had to do everything myself. And made me really appreciate a lot more about the things that people do for these kind of events. But anyway, so yeah, I had to do everything. I had to submit it. I had to get the pictures and the videos and all the documentation submitted to Guinness. Time goes by. Finally, about 5 months later, they approved the attempt and finally made it official. I won. Guinness posted some default win text on their website. No pictures or videos, just the standard facts, my name, date, and speed. Most all of the other Guinness events, I showed videos, pictures, commentary, etc. But I'm sure it's just because I didn't spend the $12,000 that other people may have. But it doesn't matter. Bottom line, I won. I am the Guinness World Record holder for the fastest motorized wheelbarrow in the world.